Hello friends, Tal here, and welcome to another new Legion video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the most recent hotfixes that came out here in the Legion pre-patch environment, which was yesterday, Tuesday the 16th of August. A lot of these changes are very interesting because it seems like they're starting to get into the little minute, detail-oriented balance changes, specifically when we're talking about the tanks. And let's just go ahead and jump right in. So first of all, we have some nerfs to the Blood DK, which has been particularly dominant in the pre-patch environment. Overall, I don't see them as being one of the best tanks. They're definitely up there, but I wouldn't say that they're like OP or anything like that. Now, Bone Shield is going to reduce damage taken by 16% instead of 20%, so it's a 4% damage reduction nerf to Blood DKs, which again is a little bit hurtful because they're a very reactive self-healing tank, but with the new Legion changes to the talents and all that kind of stuff, they have a lot of options for more upfront damage reduction, which is actually really nice. It's something that will hopefully help avoid a situation that has happened in past expansions where Death Knights are reactive tanks, but they just take so much damage up front they don't have time to react. So hopefully they don't nerf their reduction too much, because it is a very powerful thing that they're being given in Legion. They're also nerfing the Tremble Before Me's Chance to Fear, which is just a talent that you take. It's for dungeon, so I mean it's interesting, but it's not too big of a deal. Red Thirst now reduces Vampiric Blood's cooldown by 1 second per 6 runic power spent instead of 2 seconds per 20. Now this says 2 seconds per 20. I believe it was actually 2 seconds per 10 runic power spent. I think they actually messed up there, or the tooltip was lying on live. Either way, it's now 1 second per 6 runic power spent. Now it is a nerf. It is a nerf. If it was really 2 seconds per 20, then it's a buff. But if it was 2 seconds per 10, which is what I truly believe it was, it is a little bit of a nerf, which is okay. Red Thirst is still the go-to talent. It's still a very powerful talent because Vampiric Blood already has such a small cooldown. You can have it up so often. So that nerf makes sense to me. They probably don't want your big cooldown to be up all the time. And then Hard Strike damage reduced by 20%. See, the problem with that is that their damage isn't from Hard Strike. If you guys have been raiding anything with a Blood DK code tank, or if you're the Blood DK in this scenario and you have been pulling aggro like crazy, you're just doing massive amounts of DPS, it's Blood Boil. Blood Boil is ridiculously powerful right now, and they keep nerfing Hard Strike's damage, which is kind of sad because at this point 2 Hard Strikes is about equal or less than 1 Marrow Rend damage-wise, but you still want to use Hard Strike for the extra runic power. But it doesn't really make a lot of sense they keep nerfing Hard Strike when Blood Boil is the problem. It could be said that they want to preserve Blood Boil because it's your snap AoE aggro tool, and that way they want to reduce Hard Strike because it's just the lesser of two evils when you want to go ahead and pick up a bunch of aggro. But either way, overall nerfs to the Blood DK, nothing too severe, but a little bit of a survivability nerf in the Blood Shield damage reduction and the Vampiric Blood uptime. Then you come over to Demon Hunters, which thankfully has received some buffs, which is really good. They've been very squishy. Even in the pre-patch environment, they're a little bit squishier than the other tanks. So they can now gain reputation with some factions that apparently they weren't able to. I think they were just bugged. Throwglaive now deals the same damage to players as it does to NPCs for all Demon Hunters. I wasn't really aware of this, but I guess Throwglaive is just going to do more damage for both specs. Soul Cleave healing increased by 22%. That's massive. Soul Cleave healing has been kind of going up and down all over the beta, and it's really welcome that they went ahead and increased the healing a little bit. It's not even a little bit, a decent amount. It's definitely a noticeable change. It's a nice strong buff. It's not, targeting the specific problems, but I'll talk about that once I go through the rest of the changes. The Mastery has increased the physical damage reduction granted by Demon Spikes by 12% instead of 8%, and it's further increased by Mastery, always 1.5 as much as before. So it's just they've buffed the Mastery a little bit for Fellblood, for Vengeance Demon Hunters, and then they reduced Soul Carver from a 60-second cooldown to a 40-second cooldown, which is the artifact ability that puts a like a fire damage dot on the target and then rends out 2 soul fragments and then eventually 3 more over time. So it's good that they went ahead and got that to a 40-second cooldown. Demon Hunters live and die by their cooldowns, and that's the problem that I was talking about a little bit earlier. When you have Demon Spikes up, when you have Fiery Brand on something, when you, not necessarily Soul Carver because it's just healing that you're getting from Soul Cleave, but when you have those abilities up, you are good, you're fine, you're not taking too much damage. It's when those abilities are down, when you have any sort of period where they're not up on you, when you have a decent amount of magic damage coming in, that's when you get trucked as a Vengeance Demon Hunter. You don't have too many options for it. Overall, they're still going to be squishy. They're still not the most reliable, but I'm happy to see my favorite tank get a little bit of love where they needed it, and I'm just glad to see that. Then we come over to Druid. Maul damage increased by 23%. Fuck Maul. Honestly, I hate that it has a, what is like a 1 point something second, not a 1.5. That's global cooldown. It has like a, it's on the global cooldown. It has a cooldown, and it's just unyieldy to use. Like, if you're trying to maximize DPS, you're going to use Maul, but I honestly would rather just put more Iron Furs up. I hate Maul. I absolutely hate Maul. For everything that I like about the Druid, Maul is still disgusting to me. As long as Maul is the Rage Dump. If I'm misremembering that name or something else, then my bad. Monk Special Delivery now has a chance to crit when doing damage. The interesting thing here is that my Special Delivery was critting before this change. I noticed that the other night it was critting a lot more, so that's good, but that's a little bit of a DPS boost to Monks, which is just nice and welcome overall, nothing too crazy. And now Paladin's got another big change. Light of the Protector and Hand of the Protector now heal for 35% of missing health instead of 25%. Now, I'm still of the opinion that Paladins have a very, very weird active mitigation setup. I don't like that they have all this upfront damage reduction, but then there's like this self-healing portion over to the side. I don't think that makes any sense. I don't like the way that it plays personally, but it's a nice welcome buff at least to go ahead and try to smooth them out. And will only get better once you have the artifact traits that make Light of the Protector and Hand of the Protector that much stronger. Then Bulwark of Order now grants an absorb for 40% of the damage done instead of 20%. That is an artifact trait. Now, I remember a lot of people told me that when I was talking about Avenger Shield, how useless it was, and that even with the artifact traits, it wasn't that great. Yes, when you throw it and it does AoE damage and it gives you an absorb shield for that, that's really good, but they nerfed that to the point where it was just a minuscule amount of absorption. They're buffing it now again to be 40% of the damage done instead of 20%, which is going to be good, which is going to help give Avenger Shield a more defensive benefit, which is going to be nice for them. I think it's something that they do need, and I can see Paladins after this change, after the change to Divine Steed and getting the 2 charges with the talent, I see them coming back up and being a little bit more, just making more sense, I guess is what I'm going to go ahead and say with that. Then you have, let's see, Never Surrender. Now, Never Surrender and Ignore Pain got some changes. So Never Surrender now increases Ignore Pain absorption by up to 75% instead of 100%. Now, I'll just talk about the rest of this, then I'll go into specifics. Revenge damage reduced by 20%. Okay, I guess they were doing too much damage in AoE. It's similar to the Blood DK one. I don't really see it being too bad as damage, but I mean, I guess they felt that it needed to be changed. And then Dragon Scales now increases Ignore Pain absorption by 40% instead of 60%, which was an artifact trait prop warriors get. So, I've been saying this for a while now. Warriors and Ignore Pain are a little too strong. And by a little, I mean a shit ton. To the point where these changes, although they are significant changes, they are not enough changes to make it so that Ignore Pain isn't the be-all, end-all, most powerful ability that tanks have. The problem with Ignore Pain is the combos that you can do with your talents that work well and synergize well with your artifact traits. You can see Dragon Scales, I believe it's when you get a chance to crit or when you use your artifact trait ability, which gives you critical blocks, you would randomly get Dragon Scales, which would increase the amount of Ignore Pain absorption by, used to be 60%, now 40%. That's pretty significant. And Never Surrender has always been on the same tier as a talent Indomitable, which Never Surrender, when you're below a certain amount of health, your Ignore Pain gets up to 100% stronger, and Indomitable being that it just makes your maximum health and your maximum absorbed pain be stronger. The cool thing about that talent tier, I've always said, and I still think it's cool, is that you can very easily choose, hey, I'm never really getting bursted down, my healers are on point, we're not doing content that's too terrible, and even if it is terrible, we're just doing it well. Do you take Indomitable? Just make it stronger. Or hey, I'm constantly at under 50% health, I need a little bit of help, it's not that I'm being bursted down, but there's a lot of stuff going on, my healers have things, their hands tied, let me take Never Surrender and just make my Ignore Pains that much stronger. So it's good that they're targeting some of those talent combinations when they're targeting Never Surrender. But the problem is, it's not just Never Surrender. It's Never Surrender with Ultimatum, with I think it's called Vengeance, that gets you a cheaper Ignore Pain and a cheaper Focus Rage if you offset each other. And the problem is, you get Battle Cry. You instantly crit with your shield slam, which gives you a free Focus Rage, which gives you a cheap Ignore Pain for less rage than you would use, and it already using between, like, I think it's 20 to 60 rage or something like that. It's those talent combinations that make Ignore Pain so goddamn powerful. So it's good that we're starting to see some nerfs, some targeted nerfs, nothing too, dramatic or just knee-jerk reaction nerfs, which is good. I don't want warriors to be, left in the dirt somewhere with like a shot to the head. But of course, it is important to remember they're still very powerful. They still might be too powerful. I'm still going to keep my eye on it because warriors right now are just flat out probably the best progression tanks in the game, along with guardian druids. But if they do delicate nerfs, they could bring them in line with the rest of the tanks. And then the good things about them, which is like their inspiring presence and their mobility, can be what makes them the choice to go towards, rather than just Ignore Pain as the most overpowered tank ability in the game. But anyways, guys, those are the hotfix changes here for August 16th, which was Tuesday yesterday. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and my thought process for all the tank changes, all that kind of stuff. If you guys like this video, go ahead and drop it a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Have a fantastic day. See you guys around.